We finna get right with inside advice, some ill entertainment, industry insight. Listen, it's like sitting, building up on the yard. HU, the Bison Chats, the Vanguard. HU, you know.
All right, welcome you all to the yard and the Bison Chats. I'm your host, Buddy Lewis, sitting in for Roddy Mill. And like Rod, I'm a bison, and I'll be interviewing other bison in the entertainment business. And this is all in association with the Kelly Griffin Project. She had to throw her name in there to make sure everyone knows. The Howard to Howard Project is going to be a project written, produced, and edited, and directed, and starring H.U. Bison. All of that. Casted, everything by the Bison, because we got that kind of talent out here in Hollywood. So today we have a very, very, very special drinking game that we always play here. Every time you hear the word Bison, we're going to need you to turn it up, all right? Whatever you're drinking, put your little shot glasses right in front of you, lay them out, and turn it up every time you hear the word Bison. And let's do this now. Let's get into this right now. We have a very, very beautiful and exciting guest today on the Bison Chat. We started talking out at the booth, but she was trying to be covert. But her name is Miss Michelle Colbert, and she has been in the business for a long time. We won't date her because she won't tell me when she graduated from Howard, but she's been out here in the business for a long time. Yeah, it's a secret. We're going to find out, though. We're going to find out. I'm going to slip it in. We're going to reveal. Even I have to call some of my frat brothers from back in the day that used to see her sitting at the punch out. We're going to figure it out. She's been in the business for a long time, a decade of freelance production experience. She's had just extensive credits all over the business, and Michelle traveled the world doing performances and concert production, consulting. She was a lighting designer. She has done it all. She has worked with some of the best and most experienced people in the business: Shaka Khan, Rita Marley, Denise Williams, Stephanie Mills, James Ingram. She's done it all. She's also won several awards for her creative lighting packages for these people, and she also gets several honorable mentions in the industry for her dedication and consistency, and she's a professional, top-notch individual. If you don't know her, you're about to be introduced to Miss Michelle Colbert. Let's give her a round of applause out there, Bison. You know, turn it up. All right, Michelle, let's get it going.
Is it Colbert or is it Colbert?
It's Colbert,
all
like
right.
The Colbert Report.
All right.
Colbert. All right, Michelle. So first question right off the box, all these people you've worked with, who's the best singer?
Wow, who's the best singer?
Starting shit, right? That threw me off.
I did my homework.
Well, it depends on your style. I mean, that's an objective question. But I will say, out of the people that I worked with when I was a lighting designer, I would say that Shaka Khan probably was my most favorite client to work with.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Because she can sing.
She can definitely
Out
sing.
of that little bitty body comes a booming voice. We all love Shaka Khan. I have a question. Success is not always predicated on what you have done. I think sometimes success is finding out what you didn't do or should have done that sort of led to the success. So tell us about something that you look back on your career and you go, that was a mistake that I learned something from, or that was an error. That was something that broke me down for a second, and I fixed it, and I learned something from it.
Well, actually, that's a really good question, because it's something that I look at actually every day with whatever it is that I'm doing, in terms of the business or any business that you're in. It's alliances, really building up a strong social network of people that are going to help open doors for you or to support you once those doors get open. I found myself in situations whereby if I had certain alliances, things may have gone a little smoother. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Alliances do help in the
Absolutely.
business. And some of that was started at Howard.
Correct.
So tell us about your Howard days, because we know you did mention you lived in the quad.
I lived in the quad. I lived in Bethune.
Okay, there you
Which
go.
hall in the quad?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember.
Right.
Honestly, don't remember. It's a short time I was in the quad. Yeah.
All right.
So tell me, where are you from now, originally?
I'm a military brat.
Okay. all
So
over.
I was all over, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But being a military brat, that gives you a sense of work ethic.
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
And you have a sense of accomplishment that you have to complete things and get things done. And business oriented. I'm sure that's helped you through Howard and up until today. So tell us, how did that help you when you got to Howard? Being a military brat.
You have to become acclimated very quickly when you're in the military, because I remember as a kid, sometimes we were in different school districts, maybe 3 or 4 times in a year. We were moving that much. Mm-hmm. So you have to become very acclimated and assess out where you are, who the people are, how do you fit in, or, blend in some cases. And so that was very instrumental in me coming to Howard, because, you're a freshman at Howard. It's a lot to take in when you first arrive. And actually, when I went to Howard, I was still a minor. I was 17 years old. And so, I had to become an adult very, very, very quickly. When I really wasn't one.
You probably ran into some cues and went, I need to grow up fast.
That's the first Q plug.
You're going to get more.
Should be a Q dog drinking game.
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
So,
Every time Buddy says Q, take a
up.
shot.
Yeah, put some grape in it, some purple or grape in it. Why Howard? I mean, I know a lot of times I've been out with some of my friends that recruit, and sometimes HBCUs are not promoted extensively like other schools. And I know on the military bases, I know they do promote the academies, et cetera, very highly. What made you choose Howard?
Well, I had family that lived in the Washington, D.C. area, as well as Virginia, and my mother always talked about Howard. That was the school I was going to. It was just
She was a Howard grad?
No, she wasn't Howard grad, but when it was time for me to go to college, my bags were already packed.
Okay.
and I was on the train, and I was at Howard.
Okay.
Congratulations. You got accepted to Howard.
We did it for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
That's
You got to
incredible.
get the hell out of here.
You got to do something. You got a choice. You can go to Howard or join the military.
You're getting out.
That's right.
Both your dad and mom were in the military?
Just my father, but my mother was definitely involved because she worked in the medical profession. So she was definitely involved with, I remember her like working at blood banks and working with veterans. And I remember as a kid seeing, people who were just absolutely mangled and my mother was always like in the mix somehow dealing with these issues that these veterans had. So although she wasn't in the military, she definitely was part of the military in terms of support.
And that support in the medical field was wherever you were on the military base.
Yeah, sometimes we were on a base and sometimes we did not live on the base.
Okay.
So it varied.
Was your dad in the medical profession as well?
No, my father was actually an airplane mechanic. He worked for he was in the Air Force, so he worked on planes.
Okay. Never had a desire to fly or any of that, do some of the Air Force sort of things?
No, my brother was really interested in being a pilot someday.
Okay.
He actually didn't do that, but they inspired me to want to do some of the things that weren't necessarily traditionally female things, like going deep sea diving. And my father didn't see gender actually in the family because everybody was a soldier. So when he said move, everybody moves. You didn't have time to cry because you're losing a best friend, and it was like you had to be a soldier. Right. And so he made me do a lot of things that traditionally you would think would be boy things to do, just so that there was no separation. It was like if something has to be lifted, you're going to get out there and you're going to help your brothers lift it. So
that's my kind of house.
If I need my oil changed and my tire changed, you can do that.
That's a good question because my brother actually he became a mechanic, and I remember one summer I needed a job from finishing up at Howard for the term, and he worked at his shop, and I said, okay, well, I need a job. He said, well, you could come and help change tires at the shop.
Okay.
I was ready to go. I was like, it's a job. And my mother said, no, we're going to find you another job. She did not want me down there with all those men, working on the changing tires, but I was ready to go.
Yeah, I can see you would have been a little distracted. She would have been a distraction. With your little bending over with a little Daisy Dukes on. How are they doing that Tyler Perry movie? Yeah, we've been over in that barrel. Yeah. Get those little nuts, girl. There you go. So Michelle, tell us now, because we all spent time at various campus events and campus places. Where was your spot? Some people had the yard. Some people had to punch out. Some people had the cap. Where was your spot?
Just on top of the library?
Yeah.
No, honestly, my spot was, because I was in the fine arts, my spot was really actually in the theater.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in the theater because the craft at that time for me was lighting design. But I also had to work, we had to help build sets. And there was rehearsals. There was just a serious discipline that you had to really have. So I didn't really do a whole lot of hanging out. And I realized, having lost my first roommate, that that particular program wasn't going to work. And again, because of the discipline that I had growing up, being in the military, it was like you have to produce, you have to have results at the end of the day. Okay. And I knew I wasn't going to have results doing that.
Now, again, I'm trying to find out because, I know when Crampton was built. I know that plaque right there on the thing. Did you work in Crampton?
I did not work at Crampton, but
Crampton
was there. Crampton was there. It was there.
Okay, a lot of people running over to Crampton to see this plaque.
There's a little plaque right there. I'm telling you, the plaque. I'm telling you. So don't try to get me, Michelle.
It was already there when I got there.
Good. There we go. I
didn't see it erected.
All up in the 80s right now. There you go. I'm gonna get my cell phone right.
Okay. He's gonna guess the graduation date.
We're getting close.
Were you in a fraternity or sorority?
No.
Didn't have time.
Did not have time.
You know what? There was a consensus that girls in the fine arts department were free. Y'all had a free spirit. No, seriously, because they were no.
Just earthy.
Yeah, I mean, no. They
down for whatever.
Yeah, they were cool. They had a real cool kind of, listen, okay, don't get me wrong when I'm saying people in the fine arts department were free. I mean, they were trying to express themselves. Sometimes you didn't have the uptight prudes, and they were really cool people. Were you a cool person when you were?
No, I was not.
No, because
were you free, Michelle?
No, Michelle. No. And the reason why I'm asking is because she has this listen, you gotta understand this question.
He's trying
now.
to break you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle.
I'm following the line.
You following along. Follow me here. You had this real structured background when you was a kid.
Oh, did I go buck wild?
Yeah.
Got it.
You got to Howard. You're a fine arts student. You can wear your little Daisy Dukes. You can be out here. You no more military daddy looking over your corner. Boom! Wow. So you didn't let your okay, good.
No, I didn't go the opposite direction. What you will find if you were to do that is that I was really about business. It was just really about the business. I was so focused. I still am.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's the way you should be. So talk to the students now that are in the fine arts programs now. I think a lot of students. And I find they come from many fine arts programs. I'm not talking about just Howard. I'm talking about fine arts programs in general. Mm-hmm. There's this, I guess I want to say still too much, I think, emphasis put on the theater. And instead of real TV, film social media sort of focus. It's sort of changing, but it's not. Talk to the students right now and sort of explain to them what they should find themselves looking to do if they're in a media arts or a fine arts program and in your discipline. Tell them some of the things they should sort of start being mindful of as they transition out of school and into the real world.
Yeah, I mean, being mindful of is the business. What is the business component of it? We all go into that business with a sense of passion, because I think that if you don't, most people are not thinking about, how much money am I going to make? Because very often it takes some time to get to a point where you're actually monetizing that talent. So it is really learning about stopping and taking a look at the business component of it, and how do you prepare yourself and how quickly can you actually monetize your talent, but also getting your skill sets to a point where they do have value, that when you're in a sea of people who are also vying for the same thing that you want to do, how do you stand out amongst the choices that someone who's actually in the market to hire, how do you stand out? How do you present yourself when you go into a room? Talk of social media. What the heck is on your social media? People are looking at that. Do you really present yourself as someone that someone would hire and feel comfortable that you are going to be, really be the full package and not being an embarrassment? So it's very important what you're putting out there for social media. You should be using social media actually for your brand. Really, what is your brand? Not to sell so much. You are selling, but you need to integrate it in a way in which it's very organic when people are looking at it.
That's very interesting thing, branding yourself. We didn't have that. Did you have a cell phone? Howard, did you have a cell phone? See, this is another question to date you, because I didn't have one either. Did you have a cell phone? Did you have a cell phone, Michelle?
Let me put it this way.
Do you have a cell phone?
Let me put it this way. When cell phones became available, I did not get one for a long time.
That was tricky.
I'm closing in, Michelle. I'm closing in on that graduation.
Available, but I didn't get one.
So, sort of direct. If you were right now back at Howard and you were a professor, give a student right now an assessment of some things they can do, and I'm specifically talking about your field of study, which is the production, line producing, that sort of thing, even the lighting. What avenue would you direct them to get something done?
One of the things that I would tell them is who's successful at what it is that you want to do, and to model that success, because the blueprint's already there. It's a matter of looking at that blueprint and seeing where you can extrapolate from it and apply. So that's what I would tell them, to be mindful of, folks that have already made it. I would say, get a mentor, definitely, or a few mentors. I would tell them now to their social media, they should be using that to build relationships, because, again, get the sharpest skill sets that you possibly can get. You should always be, once you graduate from Howard, you should still be learning, because things are constantly changing, and it also keeps you very sharp. But those relationships are going to be at least introductions to get you in, so people can actually see you. I think some of the most successful people, not only their talent, but I go back to relationships, because it's so important. When I first came to Los Angeles, my undergraduates at Howard University, which I'm very proud of. I would never change that for anything, but I did my graduate studies at Carnegie Mellon University. And the thing that Carnegie Mellon University offered was a really strong alumni in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
And when I graduated, I was pulled to the side, and the question was, where are you going? Are you going to New York? Or are you going to LA? That was basically the two places. They said, if you want to work, you're going to either go there or you're going to go there. Where are you going? And I said, I'm going to LA. And they said, okay, my professor wrote down a name and a phone number, and they said, when you get to LA, go call this guy Joe.
Okay.
And when I called Joe, he had me go out and see at least 6 other people that were going to open doors for me. And within 6 months, I was working in the industry, and that was such a big eye opener in terms of relationship.
Okay.
I wouldn't have been able to get those relationships on my own, not that quickly, not just arriving to LA. No way.
And I think that is an interesting thing in our business, in the entertainment business, is definitely having relationships and having mentors and people that can direct you, because I think so many people misunderstand what it takes to make it out here in LA. I mean, if you come from, and I'm from Gary, Indiana. If you come from some of these places, you don't know that it costs, it's $2,000 almost for a single out here in Los Angeles. So
absolutely.
What are you going to do to make money? What are you going to do to sustain yourself until things happen for you? So you have to have people that can sort of put you in the mix immediately. I want to ask you also about your career at Howard. Did you do things at Howard? Let's say, for example, did you work at Crampton during shows? Did you go out to any of the theaters in LA? What did you do as a student to put yourself in a position to get a job when you got to LA, or to, what were some of the things you did?
Actually, I initially when I came to Howard, I thought I wanted to be an actress.
Okay.
And within a year, I decided that no.
Not so much.
No.
All right. So now
Too much loose freedom in act.
I wanted to eat.
Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of starving actresses out here. I can tell you that.
Let me ask another question.
Okay.
Do you go to school with other people who are now acting in the industry?
Yeah, there are a few, quite a few. Yeah.
Name a couple.
Okay.
Name a
I ain't
couple.
gonna name them, but yeah.
Name them. Go ahead.
Wendy
Yeah.
Bell Robinson, Wendy Davis, Felicia Rashad, Debbie Allen.
But Debbie was way before me.
Right.
Debbie was before me. Yeah.
I'm gonna qualify
We
now.
narrowing it down.
Yeah.
All right.
There were
So
a-
back to this question though.
Yeah,
in
so
terms of you working someplace on campus.
Because
that
it's
involves
not just campus, and I mean, there are a lot of theaters in LA. I mean, in Howard has a theater. Howard has 2 theaters. There's there's the radio station, the TV station.
Yeah.
Something tangible. A student, you would give them some advice and say, hey, listen, go do this.
Yes.
Try this, and try to get this on your resume.
Right.
Let 'em-
I definitely, I constantly worked at the Ira Aldridge Theater at the time. I constantly worked there, for shows. Whenever there was a show, I was working. There was no pay, but there was the experience. I did an internship at the Lincoln Theater.
Right next to Ben's Chili Bowl. I know about Ben's Chili Bowl because I spent a lot of time there snacking and eating late
I've
at night.
never been to Ben's Chili Bowl.
Me either.
Don't ever say that as a Howard student. That's like saying you live in LA and you've never been to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
I'm sorry.
Shame yourself in private. Go ahead.
I definitely did.
Wait, have you been to Ben's Chili Bowl, Michelle? There you go. All right.
I was a
Thank you.
vegetarian.
All right.
She's got an excuse.
I don't eat beef. Ben's Chili Bowl ain't no turkey chili.
They got turkey
I
burgers.
didn't know you were never there.
No, at the time they really didn't. They didn't. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
Y'all just ruined the mood. Go ahead.
Other places, I didn't work like full time at Crampton, but I'm sure I did things over there at Crampton. If they needed an extra hand, I was like maybe a day player on a show. There were, as you know, there were a lot of hair salons in Washington, D.C. So sometimes people who own these shops would do these hair shows, and I would be hired to come in and light them, or a
Excellent
fashion
work.
show or
Okay.
something like
That's-
that. I would, yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Getting smart with it. See, you know, because there's so many people now. That, what do I do? How do I do this? What am I gonna do with? That's a smart thing to do. Get a hair show. See, I never would have thought of that as a student to go
I know.
to the
That's
to
good.
that's some
Yeah.
good advice. Okay. Was there anything that you saw or learned then that you go, wow, that was a very valuable lesson. I did this, and this was a mistake, or this was a good thing, and it's carried on to your career to this very day? Something that you remember
At Howard?
at Howard. Something.
Well,
you remember.
A professor pulled me to the side as I was approaching graduation, and he said to me, in so many words, don't play small, don't be aloof, because again, I'm an extremely focused person, and I will go into my little world and just get things done and be a worker bee.
Okay.
And what he was saying to me was that that's a good quality to have, but at the same time, you're insulating yourself, and you need to be more expansive in terms of your connection with people in general.
Okay.
So that was something that really stayed in the back of my head, and I still think there are times when I'm definitely still aloof, but I do remember that him telling me that and the importance of it.
Yeah, and I think that's some very good advice when you think about it, because that's how you network. You gotta be. I guess he was saying, in a sense, you gotta be able to, network a little bit, and because so many people think that the Hollywood business is just, I'm going to focus on my work, and I'm going to sit in a room and write, or I'm going to sit in a room and study. And you got to get out, and you got to meet people that can help expand your network.
Right.
That's definitely a very good thing. So you graduated in when? You graduated, and I'm gonna hit you, Michelle. I'm almost there. You graduated, and what was your first job in the business?
I worked at the Los Angeles Theater Center. My first job when I got here.
Okay.
And
wait, after graduation, you immediately came to LA?
No, you're okay. No, you're right. I did go to grad school when I went to when I finished Howard. I went to grad school, and once I finished grad school, I toured all over the world with various artists. Shaka Khan being one, Denise Williams. Worked with Rita Marley and the Wailers.
How'd you get out of school and get that job? How you get a job with Shaka Khan getting out of school?
It was networking.
A hair show.
It literally.
Shaka Khan's hair.
It sure is. It was actually networking through a family member when I was a cousin of mine who is very social, knew a lot of people, and she knew a guy in Philadelphia that worked with a number of artists. And she said, you got to meet this guy. He does a number of shows, and I'm sure that he could use your talents, because he goes out and he pitches the whole visual concept to these artists, and he doesn't have a lighting designer. So she connected me with this gentleman, and he got me on the road right away. I was doing a show for Denise Williams. That was the first.
That's
first
my
one.
homegirl.
Yeah,
she's from Gary, Indiana. Yeah, that's my homegirl.
So this gentleman, he was able to parlay a door open for me, and he sold these packages to these artists, saying, okay, what's your visual concept? Or he would create one for them, and I came in and I would enhance those ideas through ways of lighting.
Okay, yeah, because I'm telling you, some people you definitely need lighting. I'm going to tell you, on your social media pages, get the lighting right. Some of y'all have the bad lighting, and them bags under your eyes. You can't have the camera coming up. It's not good. You can. Speaking of social media, and that's using your profession. Tell people some things they can do, lighting wise. If you are an actress or you're somebody that has a social media page, what can you do to help them with their lighting when they're taking bad selfies? Or, what's the best thing?
I'm not a lighting person for selfies.
Well, wait a minute. Listen, lighting is lighting.
So Shaka Khan to selfies on social media. That's her.
Kim Kardashian made a mint off of her little selfie. Listen, I'm getting information about my lighting, okay? I need to make sure I'm in the best light.
She's amount of lighting too.
Yeah.
Purple light or something like
Right.
that.
Tell us about lighting. Tell us about lighting real quick.
Well, just some basic principles. You need a key light. You need a fill light. So it's like, where's your key light, which basically is your light that's more diffused, and your fill light is going to fill in those shadows. So
Okay.
it gives you more of a total illumination.
The glow.
Yeah.
Get that glow going. All
A little
right.
backlight is nice too.
All right,
Got
all
big
right.
hair, looks good.
Okay. Now,
Social media lighting.
I noticed from your resume you work with a lot of corporate entities, and interestingly, you produce commercials and interactive media. Can I ask you, what can companies do to more align themselves with Black media, radio, et cetera, et cetera? What would you think would be a good way for them to advance themselves market wise?
First of all, I think that any corporation that wants to be a part of the Black culture is to, first of all, respect it, and secondly, to have someone on their team that respects it, embraces it, and wants to illuminate it and with the highest level of integrity, and to also put money behind reaching that particular audience, and just to treat that audience with a sense of dignity and respect. And I think with that people sense, particularly being African American, you just sense where people are coming from just by their energy that they put out, and very often we don't necessarily express back what we're feeling, but we can walk in a room and we can feel if we're wanted or not. And I think some of these corporations need to be cognizant of that. How authentic are you really being to your audience? Do you really want to serve the audience, or do you just want to exploit the audience?
Okay, that's very good. That's good, because I know there are a lot of corporations and so forth that come to HBCUs at one at a time. They want to give you credit cards, but and have you spend money, but they're sometimes not there for the other things that we need.
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting.
You want to take away, but not really give anything
Right,
back. Yeah.
not give anything back.
Yeah.
Is there something in your career right now that you are extremely this was the moment you knew, I'm here, I'm arrived, and I'm now, and I'm using this, I got my light on me. There's something special. When was that moment when that job, that career move, what was it for you?
Honestly, and I don't have this my company anymore, but when I launched my own production company. Okay. To me, that was one of the highlights of my career, because first of all, a lot of people thought that it wasn't possible.
For a Black female, or for you personally, or was there, or do you, when you say people didn't think, I want to sort of fill that in with what exactly you mean by that? I
think maybe both. I think people, who may have known me personally or thought that they knew me, that it wouldn't be possible for me to pull something like that off. And then just in general, at the time, it was a production company that focused on doing mainstream commercials. And, when you looked out into the vast field of that particular industry, there were very few people of color that were decision makers. We didn't have Black directors that were actually directing these commercials, and there's quite a bit of money to be made in that arena. And I was able to change that dynamic because at the time, music videos were really, really hot, and there was a demographic of consumers that the corporate was not reaching out to, and they were trying to figure out how do they reach out to that particular market. Okay. And because I had connections to some of these directors that were doing some really awesome things and just blowing MTV up with their content, I was able to tap into some of those directors and bring them into the commercial world to really do some really cool, slick commercials that got some traction and sales for some of these, corporate giants.
Okay. How long did your company stay in existence?
About 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah,
what made you decide I'm done?
Well, there's a thing in business called black swans.
Okay.
And there were a lot of black swans. What that means is that there are things that happen in a business that are beyond your control. We were hit with the actor strike.
Right.
So a lot of the vendors and corporate, we weren't even doing any commercials because you had to go out of the country to do a commercial. We had a threat of the writer's strike, even though it didn't happen at that time.
Okay.
And then we had 9/11. So I was surviving these hits one by one by one, and I was seeing that my profits were quickly depleting. I had vendors that completely were out of the game altogether. They shut their doors, or there were other larger conglomerates that came in and bought those other companies that I got business from, and it was going to be a matter of starting over to get the relationships to get in the door. And it was time. It really, it was a seven-year run. It was a good run, and it was time to make a transition, which segged me into working more as a line producer in television.
Tell me what an executive in charge of production does. What does that entail?
So executive in charge of production basically oversees all of the production components, the physical production components. It's not a creative position whereby you're deciding on who's going to be in front of the camera. Right. It entails the budget. You bring me a concept, or there's a concept that's in front of me. What does it cost to actually make that particular show or to do that series? So figuring out the cost. What does it take to do it, physically do it, the logistics? How many electricians are you going to need? What does the staff look like?
Okay.
What's the building that you're working out of? Where are the locations? And hiring all those people that do specific jobs. That on the physical production side. When it comes to the creative side, there are creative producers that are making those decisions. I can have some influence. I can bring them, people to the table, but ultimately it's the creative producer's decision to say, this is what I want on the creative side.
Now, an executive in charge of production, what genre are you particularly like? Is it film? Is it TV? Is it video? Is it the production music, like venues? Tell us what you like.
I've really been fortunate to be able to work in so many different genres. I had worked on talk shows. I've worked on game shows. I've done unscripted. I've done scripted. My favorite is scripted. And
scripted television.
Scripted television. I did features as well. Scripted television, and the reason being is over non-scripted is you have the opportunity to really work with craftsmen. And I got into this business for an art, not just to make content, and the content makes money, but I got into it because I wanted to do good storytelling, work with people who are brilliant at what they do, the person who does the wardrobe, the makeup, the writer, the actor that's absolutely brilliant in front of the camera, to really just, it's such a creative and brilliant art form that we have. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff in the background that we deal with, but just the art itself is really one of the most beautiful things that I think that anybody can be in. We all have this moment as when we're all in production. I think every creative person, every behind the scenes individual, because I sort of do both. And there's one moment where you go, okay, who does this fool think he's talking to? You don't know. When was the where you go, okay, these people really, this is that moment where you have the woosah. Okay, I want to hear you about your moment. I would have those moments quite often,
I'm
particularly
sure.
doing what I do, because I have to be the voice of reason. And, sometimes people, it's not about what's being said, but who's saying it. So there were times when it was a problem, the fact that me being, an African-American woman, having this quote-unquote authority where, people would come at a way that would sometimes be a little inappropriate. And I will tell you a moment that I had that was very empowering. I was working on a commercial, and I wasn't the line producer, I was the production manager on that particular commercial. And it was a big commercial. It was this Japanese company. I mean, they came with tons of money. And we were out in the sand dunes. And so it was hot as hell out there. And there were these guys that lived in the area, and they had these sand buggies, and they were transporting everybody around on this desert. We had mounds of sand. And there was a trailer, too, to keep everybody cool. And I remember the guys, they were working really hard, and there was about maybe 4 or 5 white males. And I came out the trailer, and one of the guys, he came to me, he says, "How are we doing? Is everything okay?" And I was like, "You guys are doing a great job." And his buddy pulled him to the side, and he said, "Oh, don't ask her that. Just you're supposed to ask her, how's everything doing? How are we doing? What?" And it was just this whole step and fetch it way of which he was instructing his buddy to speak to me. And I remember at a moment, I was devastated that he would even imply that he had to speak to me in a different way, in terms of a way that he thought was most relatable. And I remember I was getting ready to walk away. And I said, "Do not carry this today. Do not carry this. This is not your burden to carry."
Right.
And I remember walking away, but I pulled him. I think the guy's name was Scott. I said, "Hey, Scott, can you come over here for a minute?" I removed him from his cronies because I knew if I did it in front of his cronies, I was going to diminish my power.
Right.
So I pulled him away and I said, "The way your guy addressed me was really appropriate. You did not need to correct him." And I said, "The only reason why you told him to speak to me differently is because of the color of my skin. So you know nothing about me. You don't know about my family. You don't know who I am. You don't know about my education. You don't know anything about me." He was shocked. He was kind of shaken. He took his sunglasses off and he said, "I'm not a racist." And I looked at him and I said, "I did not call you one. I said that the way you spoke to me was inappropriate, or had someone instruct someone to speak to me differently was not correct. It was inappropriate because of my race." He had to stop for a minute and really figure it out. So he gets in his sand buggy. He goes up the hill to talk to our AD, who happened to be African American.
Oh, Lord.
All I said was,
He went to go to get confirmation from the African American first AD to say, he said, "Listen, something happened down the hill. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I said." He said, and he asked him, he said, "Well, what did you say?" And the AD looked back at him. He said, "Man, that was fucked up. That was fucked up what you said."
You did something dumbass. Oh, here's how you talk to her like this. Hey there, Miss Missy. How are we doing today?
So it was a teachable moment for this gentleman who didn't really he really did not realize how inappropriate what he was saying was, and he came back down the hill and he apologized, and he was saying, at lunchtime, do you want me to get your plate for you? I said, "No, it's okay."
Oh, he wanted now you want to step in that missing now. Oh, I love it.
And I'm like, "No, that's okay." But it was one of those moments where when you just say, "Listen, you're not going to carry somebody else's junk," and say, I just refuse to do it.
And you know what? I think the teachable moment also for a lot of other people in this moment is something you said that I think is brilliant, is every now and then you have to take people away from their comfort zone for a second.
Yes.
And say, "Hey, let me talk to you over here," because sometimes bigotry and prejudice and misunderstandings are not necessarily needed to be put on somebody in a group of people. It's something that you can address in private and say, "Hey, listen." So I'm saying that to all the students out there who are in the business. That's a very important thing to do. Every now and then you must address situations, but you can't do it in the loud bravado on the yard way.
No.
You have to come and say, "Hey, listen, let me take you aside." And that's for men, females, especially when you're dealing, and I say this, and I don't mean any disrespect, especially when you're dealing with females in the business now, because you can say something so inappropriate to someone who's a female, and you don't know you're doing it. I'm saying that to the guys. Sometimes you don't realize you're saying something very, very disrespectful, and you need to be, pulled aside and say, "Hey, man, listen, what you said to that young lady wasn't cool." And you hope that there are more Michelles out there who can deal with you in a way, because it can be embarrassing, and it can get you in a lot of trouble, lose a job, have your reputation ruined, et cetera, because we only get one chance sometimes in this business to make an impression.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to do that on set, on a commercial for 2 days, and you're the asshole that's on the set.
Right.
So you don't want that. So I really appreciate you, and that's a very good lesson for people to learn about how to address negative situations on a production. It's very important, and that's whether you're talent or whether you're behind the scenes. I just think that's really, really, really good thing.
I want to jump in real quick, ask you a question. What is the difference between, going back to your title, executive producer in charge and the UPM? Because they, I know they order equipment and, it's almost the same thing. Is it union versus non-union, or is it?
No, the UPM works under the EIC or the line producer, and the UPM has some of the same duties as a line producer, but they're not necessarily responsible for the overall budget.
Okay.
They're not necessarily responsible for the overall
line
budget.
producers can handle budgets, and UPMs can handle ordering everything from walkie-talkies to rain.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
So
I mean, just
the executive in charge of production is overseeing both of them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Overseeing both of them.
Okay.
Are they usually on the studio side?
The EIC?
Yeah.
The executive in charge of production?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be on the studio side. But you do find that. But on the studio side, you'll find people who are like VP of production or senior VP of production. That's what you'll see mostly on the studio side in terms of title. The EIC is a relatively new title, I think.
I was going to say, I just started seeing
Yeah.
it, and I don't know if you know Paul Garnes, but
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I noticed now, I see his name with that same title on various things with Queen Sugar or whatever, and it's been baffling me because I'm like, I've never seen this title before, and I'm seeing this title around a lot of places, and then as you describe what the duties were, I'm like, but it's not the UPM, but it's a combination of UPM line producer with the person who's above them and runs that. Okay.
Exactly, because
All right.
you can hire a line producer to work on you, can hire a UPM to work on you, particularly when the shows get very complicated and there's a lot of moving pieces. So you'll delegate some of those duties.
At a studio where you do all of the purchasing for all of their productions, all of their, is that somewhere where you're leaning to go, or like the president of, if you were at Sony or Universal, you hired everybody to do everything. Is that something you would be interested in?
I mean, I certainly would. There was a time when I was actually going after that position, to be like a VP or SVP at a studio on the production side. But for me, the most fulfilling is to have something that I'm doing in that position that's creative, not just the physical production.
Okay.
I feel that I really have plateaued, at doing the physical production, and I started off on the creative side. I mean, doing lighting design for me was a very creative thing, and so I would be looking to do something that would be more of a hybrid of the two, which was like, again, when I go back to the highlight of legacy films, I did both. I oversaw creative.
Are you working on something presently? Are you working on a production right now?
Right now, actually, I'm not working on a production right now.
You on hiatus? Me too.
No, I'm not actually. I'm not on hiatus. I'm not necessarily working on a project right now. I have a real estate license, and I've been a real estate investor for a while as well. So this year I have focused 100% on real estate, and my plan is to segue both my background in entertainment and real estate to create something with that in the entertainment industry. And I don't know what that is yet.
Selling studios.
Say that?
Selling studios.
Or renting those houses out for production. That sounds like, all you gotta do is buy a lot of them, a whole, and then sell them as a studio lot. I like that idea.
So, what is the progression to get to be a line producer? Like, how do you know when you're ready to try to apply for those positions? Like,
Sure.
What comes before it?
Yeah, the steps for becoming a line producer is working. Yeah, it is a lot.
There's a lot of steps.
Yes, there's a lot of steps. You want to work, certainly production assistant, that gives you an opportunity to kind of see the gamut of what goes on in a set. But the path would be to work as a coordinator, to get it working as a coordinator. And once you get your coordinating skills, which means you're dealing with a lot of paperwork, producing it and distribution, then you move up to production manager. So you go from coordinator to production manager to line producer to EIC, and you know, if you're going to go and work in studio, VP, SVP.
What is I can understand when you said a lot of paperwork and you and meeting people. What's the biggest, I think, skill set that someone should have? Because I know you have to be meticulous working with all those numbers. So tell the students out there, what are some of maybe the top couple of skills that they need when if they're on the path that you're on? What would they feel are the biggest attributes that they would have to have?
Organization is a must.
Okay.
Being very, very detail oriented. You gotta be way ahead of the pack in terms of what's coming next. So you have to really tomorrow this is what's happening, or next week, and because some things take a little longer to get done. So you want to be ahead of that. And diplomacy is very important. And
like a skilled chess player.
Yeah, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. And being aware, confidentiality. You have to be trustworthy, because you're going to get a lot of information that's going to be funneling through. You're going to know. Yes. You're going to know about people's certain actors who go through health may have health issues that need to stay contained within 4 walls.
Because I know you deal with those riders. What's the funniest rider? Because you just said something. What's the funniest rider you ever saw?
What is a rider?
Well, explain what a rider is. That's sort of okay. Go ahead, you explain it.
Well, a rider basically is you make a contractual agreement with an artist saying that they're going to get some special thing or item that they.
Couple of weirdest riders you've ever had on a contract that you had to do as a line producer, because that's your job. You come in, you go, blue M&Ms. They need a bottle of Hennessy and what else? Tibetan breast milk.
Oh my God.
Hey, I'm doing Dave Chappelle here. Come on. All right, go ahead.
I would say not too many weird ones. Something you had to say absolutely not. I mean, there was one one executive who wanted marijuana delivered to him on the set, and it was like, that's not, we'll get you Cuban cigars, but that's about as far as we'll be able to take it. I can't do the marijuana.
It's close to the line we get.
Yeah.
It's legal now in California.
Yeah, but at the time it was
we can't do drug deals.
we can't. We just can't do that one. Peeled grapes. I think there was one artist that did peeled grapes. Wanted the grapes peeled. Yeah, wanted the grapes peeled. Yeah, so.
That's some diva shit.
That is definitely diva.
There's nothing else you can call peeled grapes. I don't want just grapes in my dressing room. I want peeled.
You want them peeled.
But see, you don't tell them what you peel them with. See, that's what you get them.
We gotta wrap it up.
Okay, so last thing we're gonna do here, Michelle, we like to do this. For the bison, drink up. There you go. Bison. Before we go, we have this thing we like to do called Running with the Bison. It's just some rapid fire questions. And since your name is Colbert, right?
Colbert.
Colbert. I'm saying Colbert because Colbert. I'm saying is and I'm sorry, it's Colbert. You say Colbert for yes and covert for no. All right, so we're gonna go through these rapid fire questions. Rapid. Here we go. Been camping in a tent?
Covert.
Okay. Going on a blind date?
Covert.
No, you've never been on a blind date?
No.
Okay. Watch someone give birth?
Covert.
Okay. Skinny dipping?
Covert.
Jeez. Oh my God, I'm gonna need you to get out more.
Been in a car accident?
A Colbert.
Witnessed a shooting?
Oh, covert.
Okay, that sounded personal. Involved in the shooting?
Paid for a stranger's meal?
Colbert.
Okay. You did that once? That's good. That's nice. Skydiving?
Covert.
In the military, you never had an opportunity to do, you wanted to? No. Got a tattoo?
Covert.
Covert?
I'm sorry.
This last one, man. Okay. I got one too. I got one on my own. Man or ladyscaping?
What the hell is that?
Everybody
Good.
knows what the hell is that.
Ladyscaping. That's hairless.
It don't have to be Brazilian wax.
Oh my God.
It's a very personal question.
It's a personal.
That's how we end it.
Okay, it's a personal
Usually
question.
It's guys. So
Usually
guys.
Landscaping, but
I refuse to answer that.
Covert.
Oh my gosh.
Michelle, it's been a wonderful bison conversation with you, and you gave some very, 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 very good help for all of the students out there who are listening. So we want to do this. Are you plugging anything right now? Your book, a movie, a film, a television show, anything you want to plug right now? Even if it's a old friend, a family member, your church, anything? Shout out.
Well, here's what I wish for anybody that's listening to this, that, I'll just leave this, that whatever you're going for, go for it fully, and just stay focused. And again, as I said, those connections, work on getting your connections. I have nothing to plug. What I wish for you is that you experience the life that you wish to have.
Okay. All right, cool. So we're gonna
real estate.
Well, real estate, yeah, okay.
Somebody might want to buy a house.
Well, I am doing real estate. As I mentioned, I am an investor as well as a licensed real estate agent, and
in the Los Angeles area.
In the Los Angeles, California. I'm licensed in California, so it doesn't have to be Los Angeles, but I'm licensed here. Anyone who is looking to honestly build wealth, I think that if you're in this industry, we do not have 401ks. Many of us are freelance, contract to contract. So you have to figure out, with this business that you're passionate about, how you are going to build your own wealth while you are actually building a fortune for other people. Mm-hmm. You need to figure out how you're building the fortune for yourself, and real estate is a way to do that.
Excellent. Do you have are you taking on clients in your real estate business right now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Please tell all the students and people in the LA area or whoever's listening how they can get in touch with you and get some real estate and build their wealth.
Well, I'm happy to give my business phone number.
Yes.
My number is area code 323-816-3227.
I'm going to call you up because I'm trying to build my wealth, Michelle.
That's right.
And then we can talk and find out exactly when you finish Howard. That's what we're going to find out. I'm going to edit some of your little files and figure this out. If I guess, would you tell me? If I guess right now, would you tell me?
No.
No? Okay. 82. I'm right around 81, 82.
Secret. All right, we got do your best
HU
call, and then we out of here.
HU, you know how to say it. You know how to do it. HU, you've done this before. Here we go. HU.
You know.
There you go. There it is right there. The HU call. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Bison Chat. We've done it here with Michelle Colbert. She was a wonderful guest, and I'm Buddy Lewis, filling in for Roddy Mel. Shout out to Eric E. Powell, a.k.a. EPLEJB.
Okay, you know what?
I'm joking. Mr. Eric L. Powell, a.k.a. ELPJ, and Jay Blocko, who provided the Bison Chats theme song. Here your guest, our production consultant. He's not a bison, but we like him. And our producers, of course, Miss Stacy Alfonso and Kelly R. Griffin. Again, I'm your host, Buddy Lewis, filling in for Roddy Mel. You can find this at Bison Chat Host at krgbisonproject.com. That's my ADD kicking in. Go find it if you can. All right. God bless y'all. And HU, you know.